Hey, good morning, everybody. We are live. It's Thursday morning, um, Thursday morning live, and I am Mike Morawski. And this morning, I am going to be joined by a good friend of mine, Nolan Ausan. Nolan is really gotten into the modular housing business, and he has a story that is just unbelievable. What we have watched Nolan do over the last 8 to 10 months has just kind of been phenomenal. And as that sector, we all know that there's a shortage of housing in the country right now. And as we start to plow into this a little bit more, you're going to start to see how Nolan and his factory and his efforts here are going to be able to plug a hole in the marketplace for something that needs to be plugged. So I'm going to bring him in a minute, but before I do that, I just want to make a mention this morning that our show today is brought to you by the Women's Day that's coming up March 8th. On March 8th, we are doing a event. Please go to mycoreintentions.com to register for that event, but it'll be a free 3-hour event in the morning. We're going to have a couple of great speakers talking about real estate, a little bit about real estate, a little bit about credit, a little bit about finance, but about being an entrepreneur, about being a woman, being an entrepreneur in the marketplace today, and how people can all learn from those experiences and see the growth. So I look forward to seeing you there on March 8th from 9 till 11. Let me bring Nolan in right now. Hey, Nolan, good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing, Mike?
I'm good. I'm a little rusty this morning, I guess. I traveled last week. I was in Florida looking at some assets, and they say Florida is supposed to be nice. I woke up Monday morning to come home, and it was 47 degrees. And I have to say, I went downstairs and met my realtor, and I went, damn, I thought this was Florida. Feels like we're back in Chicago in the middle of February. So it was kind of funny. But how you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Mike.
Yeah, you bet. I guess you had a little bit of a storm last night there in Omaha, huh?
Yeah, it was super windy. It was kind of shaking the windows a little bit last night. It's kind of unusual. We don't usually have wind here like that, but it was last night.
Yeah, interesting. So just tell people a little bit about yourself, Nolan, your background, how you got into what you're doing today.
Thanks, Mike. So I have been a builder and developer now for about 6 years. Prior to that, I was in the tech space as well. Owned and operated different businesses in the tech space. A combination of having, and then prior to that, I actually grew up doing construction with my dad. I became an equivalent of a master carpenter essentially before I left high school. And so having that combination, kind of really, it was a good background to, lead to where we are today. And, as we tried to scale and grow in the construction and housing and build out a portfolio, the challenge that's taking place within the industry, there's a huge lack of labor in terms of skilled labor, and that we're losing more labor year over year. Obviously, we've got 4.2 million short in terms of multifamily housing and units and 2.1 actually housing units in terms of single family as well. So it really led us on this path of really trying to fulfill a need that really is a wide need within the marketplace. And so trying to build out a very automated material and component factory and modular factory became really the only solution to help kind of fulfill that need and demand in the marketplace. So we're really excited to continue to move this thing forward.
What's really interesting is I wore my sweatshirt for you today. It says tenacity, right? Because one thing I know about you is over the last year, I've seen you grind it out. A lot of hours, a lot of time, really putting the effort in to pull this thing forward. When you take a look at the housing shortage in this country today, how big of a hole do you think there is right now in the US? And how much do you think that your efforts can fill that hole?
It's a pretty big gap of what we're dealing with right now. The idea is at least we're working towards something that at least can start to fulfill that need, right? Even with the mass production of what we're talking about, building somewhere between 2 and 5,000 units a year, we need more of what we're talking about to even get close to fulfilling the demand that's in the lag and the backlog of demand in the marketplace. Like I said, 4.2 million it's 4.2 multi-family units and 2.1 single family units within the country, and also we got another really important thing we've got to remember is we've got a sustainability aspect that's really important here, because we're 2030 is just around the corner, and according to many world scientists and leaders, that we've got to do something about our environment. And 39% of all carbon emission comes from how we build and operate buildings, and so there's a really a key aspect to that as a part of this equation that we're trying to account for as well.
So let me ask, what is happening from a legal standpoint come 2030 as a builder, as a developer? What guidelines are you going to have to follow for that sustainability stuff?
It's more about there really isn't necessarily specific guidelines. I mean, obviously there are certain energy codes are obviously continuing to be updated. Building codes continuously are changing, of course, and those are all the things that are great to adhere to. But frankly, a lot of that is too far behind to really make an impact or make a difference. They're several years behind. Obviously there's a lot of process that gets through to make to actually make that a viable part of the operation. But the reality is it's going to come down to people that take the initiative to really look at the opportunity and see how we can really make this a real big impact in a really positive way, from doing things like printed solar panels where they're super lightweight, where you can put them just about anywhere and absorb energy, and leveraging sustainable materials that we can grow in our country like hemp and turn it into frankly better building materials than what's available by traditional means today. We cut down 4% of the world's forest to then replant that essentially every year, tenfold. It's just not a really good model when you think about it. And so, and then you think of all the crazy things that happen from a logistics standpoint. I mean, case in point here recently, look at the blockade, with the, trucker blockade, for between Canada and the US, right? It's just those disruptions. So, if we can bypass those issues, as a country, and as a civilization, we can really do a lot of good for in a lot of different ways. And that's really what we're trying to do, is just find pragmatic solutions that make sense for us to be able to take forward to initialize the opportunity.
Yeah, it's interesting. So, yeah, what is the number? And I know you kind of went over this at the beginning, but what's the number? What's the shortage of housing in the U.S. right now? Yesterday, I had I was talking to someone, and we were talking that there's more cranes and more plumb lines dropped in every city around the country right now than we've seen in years. You got this big demographic of housing buyers that are in the marketplace right now as the millennials. And there's this shortage of housing that even if everything got delivered right now that's online, we'd still have a shortage of housing that's a huge number. And do you know what that number is?
Yeah, from all estimates that I've seen, like I said, 4.2 million units short in terms of multifamily housing and multi-unit. There's obviously another, specialty, another thing to think of in terms of demand that's out there as well. Think of all the baby boomers and, this geographical change of people, right? People now can think about where they're going to be able, they can actually work more remotely, right? So
Yeah.
the type of, living environment that they're looking for, maybe they're looking for something a little more lower maintenance, or maybe something a little easier for them to take care of, or maybe they only plan to live someplace for 3 to 5 years because they like to maybe change that experience, right? And so there's a lot of dynamics that are kind of leading to that. And then single family side, there's still a lot of young families, and just in general upward mobility that's really driven, especially with interest rates being as low as they have, even with material costs going where they have been. There's just a huge demand in single family as well. 2.1 is kind of the number that I've seen from several sources. And so we've got a lot we need to do, and we all need to work together to really make this a success for everybody.
So Nolan, if you are using different materials in this modular housing, is it going to cut the cost of what a typical house would cost you to build? Can you, and is there a price savings for the consumer?
Generally speaking, the cost is fairly relative in terms of hard costs, but where you're really going to really make the time is really in some of your soft costs. So you're really going to we're going to be able to provide an opportunity to do larger scale projects at a much faster pace. So if you were to build a 200 unit multifamily project, or even 400 units, regardless of that size, within that rough size, you're taking something that would generally take probably 2 years to actually complete, or more in some cases now, and we're able to reduce that down to 6 to 12 months. So significant time savings in terms, and then there are obviously potential cost savings in terms of your holding costs, and you're able to potentially capture that rental revenue a lot faster as well.
Interesting. And what types of materials are you using in this modular housing that you're using? I know that some of it is a little bit contrarian, right, to what is typical building standards, and you're building a product that should be more durable and long lasting than some of the products that are in the marketplace today.
Yeah, so today, obviously, in order to meet building codes in all U.S. markets, which is the key, right, is to set a standard, not only from a structural standpoint, but an energy envelope standpoint. Nothing's too drastically different at this point. It's more about having the opportunity to kind of challenge that status quo and test new things as we mature as a company. But initially, one of the key things that we're going to take advantage of that is actually going through industrial the ICC testing right now, is be able to use hemp-based insulation products, right? Non-structural things, so we can get a really quality energy envelope, and also have a very good from the nice thing about these hemp-based materials as well. They are fire resistant, so and insect resistant. A lot of just natural things that are a part of that equation. On top of that, the R values that we're expecting to see out of them exceed current materials. So getting a better performance from those type of materials, and generally we'll be doing a light gauge steel for framing that will be rolled on basically. You're taking coils on one end, and you're essentially kicking out completed wall systems and other components on the other end of the line. It's very automated, so that you're just continuously feeding material and monitoring and watching it operate, so that we can actually operate on a very large scale because of that.
Yeah, it's interesting. How many units do you think that you guys can produce and build? And let's talk specifically about multifamily, right? So if you're building multifamily properties, how many units do you think that you can build and produce in the course of a year?
Yeah, so our projections is that we'll take this crawl, walk, run approach to kind of scale up, but ideally we expect that our capacity be somewhere around 2,000 2,000 volumetric modules, which equates to about 1,500 doors per year in terms of having a ready ship product that's basically taken to the job site and basically set really quick like. And then we're also going to, on top of that capacity, because of how our system is designed and our production is laid out, we're going to be able to deliver another 2,000 in other components and other systems to other regions that we intend to ship by rail. So we've got a pretty large volume, somewhere between 2,500 to 3,000 doors per year that we can consistently deliver to our projects and our partners' projects.
So I'm going to ask a little bit out of the box now question, because how's this been for you from an entrepreneurial standpoint, right? Because really, when I do this on Thursday morning, I really want to talk to people about being an entrepreneur and what that's like, right? Because that's like the buzzword today, right? That's what everybody's excited about, and it's kind of sexy to be an entrepreneur today, right? Talk about that for a minute. How has it been pulling this together as a company, as pulling your team together? I know we all have challenges, right, in business, but how's that been for you walking through this?
Yeah, it's been an exciting endeavor. It's obviously one of the larger, certainly by far the largest project that I've ever taken on. Obviously not my first go around in terms of starting and building a company. So at least that's the good thing. I think the really exciting thing is just some of the things that we've been able to learn, and really the quality of people that we've been able to find and work with, and just the cool and amazing innovation that is out there, that we're really just trying to harness and bring into a platform and provide them an opportunity to take some of their products to market as well, and put it into an ecosystem, essentially, is what we like to say. It's been really an interesting and exciting opportunity, and I'm looking forward to continuing to most importantly, I mean, I've always been the type of person that really likes to help others, and I feel like this is probably the most impactful way we can do that, not only just from a business standpoint, but the ability to I have a 5-year-old son, and I said, I say in my video, I said, hey, I want to be able to, when he's 20, 30, like right around the corner, and like, hey, there's some real big things that can take place here. I mean, it's really amazing to me. I think one of the most interesting things that I've probably learned along the way was, I had an opportunity to travel to Austin last September, and got to listen to an environmental physicist talk about, the choices that we make in terms of how it impacts us as impacts our environment, impacts our not only our physical environment, the materials that we choose, the materials in the carpet, the paint on the walls. I mean, all these things have a direct impact on our actual, physicality and health. And so, we really need to start making better choices, and people really need to be educated and understand, what that is, and how that impacts, and, how that's, leading to, potentially growth in cancers and other things that really haven't been identified. It's astonishing to me, as as massive an industry as this is, that people are looking at the utilization more so than the effect of what they're actually doing, and that's something we hope to change as well.
Hey, I think that you're doing a great job. You're certainly on a wonderful mission, and I know that people are going to benefit in the long term from a lot of what your efforts have been. Hey, Nolan, if people want to reach out, they want to get a hold of you to talk about being involved in what you're doing, learning more about what you're doing. If somebody wants to learn more about how to use your product, how do they get a hold of you?
Yeah, I mean, best to email me at Nolan, Nolan, .Ausan, AUSAN, at rovosmart.com. That's ROVO smart.com. Also available at if you want to book a time to chat with me, happy to do so. Calendly.com /Nolan Ausan. So CLANDLY.com /NOLAN AUSAN.
Awesome. Hey, thanks for being here this morning. And I know I'm going to see you here in a little bit, pretty quickly. for another call that you and I have this morning, our coaching call. So thanks for being here. Have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you soon.
Sounds good. Thanks, Mike.
You bet. Hey, everybody, that was Nola and Ausan talking about modular housing, the environment, and where the world is going. You know, when we take a look at the housing shortage that we have in this country right now, it's a big hole to fill. You know, yesterday I found out that if we were to deliver everything that is being built right now online, we'd still have hundreds of millions of houses that we were short for fulfilling. So Nolan is coming to the marketplace with a great product to help fill a need, fill a void in the marketplace, to help deliver product a little bit quicker. So if you have interest in that, don't hesitate to reach out to him at nolan.ausan at rovosmart.com. So I also just want to remind everybody that on March 8th, we are having our Women's Day event. It's going to be a great 3-hour event on the morning from 9 till 11. We'll have a couple of great speakers, one who will talk about just being a woman, being an entrepreneur, and how to empower women to do that a little bit more, as well as a great, another friend of mine will be on talking about finance and credit repair. So we'll talk a little bit about real estate, but the beginning will just be a couple of short presentations, and we're going to have a big Q&A session. So I would invite you to participate with us. Come on out, ask some questions, hang out with us in the morning on Women's Day. That's March 8th. If you want more information, reach out to my assistant Diana at admin at mycoreintentions.com, and she'll get you more information and help you get registered. Thanks for being here this morning. We'll see you next Thursday. Have a great